Hey guys, how's it going? Scary Stories here. I found a few more stories for you that I thought might be nice to share. These ones are about being on the road at night, driving in your truck, and seeing or hearing strange things. I won't spoil it too much, I'll let you listen to it for yourself. So this one comes from Naki's Throwaway. I don't know I'm not sure what that word is. Hopefully that's not offensive to anybody. And it was in response to, what's the creepiest, scariest, strangest, unexplained experience you've ever had? I hope you enjoy. I never tell this story because I don't want people to think I'm weird or making things up for attention, and because it truly does scare me. In fact, it scares me more than anything else in my life. More than my rational fears, more than any real risk out there. This is the most terrifying experience of my life. It was 2008. I recently married my wife, and I'd driven to Vegas from Flagstaff for dinner. After an evening there, we were driving back because we had no money for a hotel. I hadn't been drinking. I was of stable mind that night. It was late, and I was a bit tired, but I was young and I had some coffee in me. It was after midnight at this point, and lightly snowing. My wife was asleep next to me as I drove, and I was listening to some AM country music. I like drives like that. I just relax and think. Now, I don't believe in the supernatural, even when I was a Christian. I was never into the ethereal world of angels, demons, or ghosts. I never felt that spiritual. But as I drove along on the empty road, I thought I heard my wife say something. I looked at her, and she was asleep, but I looked through her and out the window, and saw something running next to my car. He was about the height of my truck, maybe a little taller. He ran full speed, and he had dark hair and piercing eyes. It almost looked like his nose was like a coyote's, like a muzzle. He had a beaded shirt with beads that made a shallow V across his chest. His arms were scrawny, his face sunken and hairy. As he ran, he turned to me and bared his teeth. I immediately lost all breath from my lungs and was frozen. I gripped the wheel to control the vehicle and turned away from him and looked back. He was still keeping pace. I turned back to the road and hit the gas. I looked back over again and he was gone. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw nothing in the road. There was nothing ahead either. I just sat frozen holding the wheel and speeding down the road. I hadn't made a noise, so my wife hadn't woke up yet. I didn't say anything about it. I didn't stop the rest of the way. When we got to Flagstaff, I woke my wife and we went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. Even as I write this, I have this terrible feeling of dread. And I've spent a ton of time in the desert, in the forest, camping, hiking. I feel fine at night in a cemetery. I've seen flying objects and assumed a logical reason for all of them. But I have no explanation for what happened that night. I did see that. It did happen. Maybe I fell asleep. Maybe it was a dream. But I don't personally believe that. That thing was there. Years later, I recounted this to someone who lived in the area. They told me that what I saw was a skinwalker, and it made sense to me. Like I said, I don't believe in demons, angels, ghosts, but I do believe in skinwalkers now. Sticking with the theme of the last one, I found another one from somebody going by the name of Navajo Joe, a name I can actually pronounce. And this happened when I was a kid. My uncle and I were chopping and gathering firewood for my grandmother because it was getting dark. Driving back on the dirt road at about 30 miles per hour, give or take 5 miles per hour, when I started to have this awful feeling that we were being watched. Before I could turn and look out the window, the passenger side, my uncle quickly shouted, "Don't." I completely froze. My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest. Then I heard a tap tap on the window. My uncle sped up and loudly started praying in my native language. I didn't know what was going on, and I thought it was all over until my uncle pulled the truck on the side of the road. And then he started saying, "Look at me. Don't turn away," over and over. And then I heard it again. Tap, tap. But it was from the window behind me. It was getting harder for me to breathe, and I wanted to cry. A minute or two passed, and I felt the truck start to lift up a bit, as if something had gotten out of the bed in the back. My uncle looked around and sighed. Everything was quiet on the road. All I could hear was us breathing and the engine of the truck still going. He looked over at me and said, "We'll ask your father to do a prayer in the morning, so that the evil will forget our faces." This was a rough Navajo to English equivalent. I remember curling up in the seat and just staring at the radio, watching the time. And I listened to my uncle just sing an old prayer till we got to my grandmother's house. To this day, my uncle still refuses to talk about it. So, what'd you think of those ones? I've personally never seen any skinwalkers or anything like that, but I do find the stories interesting. And there was one clip I remember seeing a few months ago on Slapped Ham or something like that. A great video channel. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably know of them. But it showed, it was a grainy footage of a guy crawling out of a ditch, and it was filmed from the passenger seat of a truck or something like that. And it was like, is this real footage of a skinwalker? And just the way the guy was crawling out of the ditch, it just looked so disjointed and inhuman. But it was really kind of blurry, so it was hard to make out. Maybe I'll be able to post a clip of it or something like that. I don't want to get any strikes or anything like that on here. I don't really know how they work, so I don't want to tempt fate, but maybe I'll put a screenshot of it or something. I personally think it's just a weird angle, and I don't think there's any manipulation, but just taken on a potato camera and a weird angle made it look really weird. It's just some drunk guy coming out of the ditch or something. But yeah, what would you do if you saw this thing crawling out of the ditch? Anyways, if you enjoyed the stories tonight, feel free to give the video a like. It really helps me out. And if you see a little red button down below, I think that means you're not subscribed, so maybe click on it just to, help me out a bit more. We're getting closer to 500, so that'd be really dope if we could do that. Get that little community tab going. Can bug you guys all the time. But yeah, anyways, I'll cut it there for now. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.